So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Andrea Catherine Paget. I am your host of this bi-monthly call, rather. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner with 20 years experience in the healthcare industry. 10 years of that was actually in conventional medicine, and about 8 years ago, I transitioned to holistic health, which is very much more aligned with my soul and the work that we're doing here in the world. And I'm really excited to share about today. So just as I always begin the call with the mission and vision of Healy, which is also very much aligned with us and our new Resonance Connection portal as well. And so our vision is to empower people to live a healthy, fulfilled, and conscious life, and to inspire our growing community. So these calls are really about empowerment, about product knowledge with Healy, but also how to integrate it into your life. And I always provide it through a naturopathic lens. And please, if you feel called to share or share your experience, then I always encourage these calls to be interactive. So my last call 2 weeks ago was on parasites and pathogens. So if you didn't see that, the replay is on YouTube as well as in our Telegram group. And it very much aligns with today, which is on anxiety. And we're going to go over nervous system support, frequencies, naturopathic, and lifestyle practices that you can implement as well. So anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of worry, nervousness, tension, recurring thought patterns. They could be negative loop patterns, and they can be associated with physical changes as well. So a lot of people, when they're feeling anxiety, they might have an increase of heart rate or blood pressure. They might be sweating. They might feel nervous to leave their house. It's different for everybody. I think we've all experienced anxiety on some level at some time. And there's many different ways that it expresses itself. But anxiety itself, as sort of persistent thing, is considered a future-oriented, long-acting response. So it's something that is quite often interchanged with fear, but it's not the same. Fear is an appropriate, present-oriented, it's a short-lived response to like a clearly identifiable and specific threat. Whereas anxiety, it can be sort of this low level and sometimes very overt experience of things that might happen in the future. Again, the recurring thoughts and emotions that happen. But essentially, anxiety can be a very disabling experience, and it's accompanied by a long-term stress. And overall, this really leads to a decline in our overall health. It also contributes to many chronic illnesses, even when treated with conventional medications. So some facts about anxiety. I didn't know a lot of these actually before I prepared for this presentation. But it is the most prevalent mental health issue in the United States. It's more likely to affect women twice as likely to affect women than men. And anxiety disorder, so this is actually a diagnosis, affects 40 million American adults. And nearly 30% of those adults 30% of American adults qualify for an anxiety disorder at some point in their lives. 32% of teens have some type of anxiety disorder, and then the depression and anxiety go hand in hand. So 50% of people diagnosed with depression quite often have an anxiety disorder diagnosis as well. And it's one of the facts was only 33% of people with anxiety seek help. Now, these are facts that come from the American Psychological Society, the APA, the AMA, and these are statistics about people that actually have an anxiety disorder. And so I think that this number is actually much, much higher. I think people, especially now, especially after the last, almost 3 years, anxiety levels have really skyrocketed a lot. So what are the signs and symptoms of anxiety? So most people, or many people, they'll have a variety of different ones. Not they have all of these, and it's different. Again, it's different for everybody. But quite often people have that feeling of anxiousness. They can have panic attacks, heart palpitations, changes in blood pressure. They can have sweating. They can have muscle tension where their body feels really rigid, chest tightness or difficulty breathing. It can lead to digestive problems, restlessness, a difficulty concentrating, irritability. So there's a lot of mood changes that can happen with anxiety as well. And some people have an avoidance of social situations. So they feel really nervous to go outside because of their anxiety. So then they end up staying home and being more isolated, which further exacerbates their anxiety. So they sort of find themselves in a loop. Some common causes of anxiety. There's many, but stress is a big one. Chronic inflammation, hormonal imbalances. This is the one that I'm seeing a lot with my clients because I do a lot around hormone health, and quite often anxiety is sort of underlying. Well, the hormone balance is the underlying root cause, but anxiety is manifested as part of that. And so this manifests as a thyroid issue or thyroid imbalance, adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout. And another one that I see and as what I was alluding to earlier in the call, parasites or pathogens. So when we have parasites or our gut bacteria is out of balance, anxiety is a really common side effect. Sleep deprivation and poor sleep can lead to anxiety. Any kind of challenges, relationships, finances, poor diet and nutritional deficiencies. I see this one a lot as well. As similarly, food sensitivities, excessive alcohol, caffeine intake, or any kind of stimulants, sugar intake. Sugar is like a drug, and it really affects our brain in a negative way. And so these can cause and exacerbate anxiety. Gut imbalance. So all of these kind of go together on the right-hand side. And autoimmune conditions, quite often anxiety, I see this a lot as well, that anxiety is a common side effect. And then dysfunctional serotonin and neurotransmitters. So 70% of our serotonin is actually made in our gut and then is sent to the brain. And quite often with anxiety, there is gut imbalance. And so this impacts, the bacteria in our gut, and ultimately the formation of neurotransmitters because of these nutritional deficiencies that are happening. And a big one that isn't always looked at is traumatic life experiences. So I'm seeing this a lot in autoimmune conditions, people having, or especially early childhood trauma that hasn't been dealt with, that there's a link between trauma and autoimmune conditions. So quite often doing that work and doing the healing around the trauma and really freeing ourselves that way can lead to all sorts of health improvements, and anxiety is one of them. So the conventional treatments for anxiety are usually a combination of psychotropic drugs and then cognitive behavioral therapy. So some of the common drugs that are prescribed are SSRIs, so selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and then the serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. These ones are a little bit newer, and then benzodiazepines, which have been used for decades. But all of these medications essentially come with side effects: headaches, nausea, appetite changes, changes in bowel habits. Constipation is a common one. Aches and pains, blurred vision, dizziness. I mean, these are major side effects. And the research shows that 30 to 50% of people that are on these medications have at least some of these side effects, which to me is astounding. So there are quite a few natural remedies that we can use for anxiety, and this is what we're going to talk about going forward in the talk. So my favorite is nutrition, herbs, and supplementation to really support ourselves, meditation and breath work, mindfulness, really focusing on optimal sleep. So this is one that I do with my clients a lot, about creating sleep routines and morning and nightly routines to just really help them get their reset their circadian rhythm, get them into a normal routine, and helping them improve their sleep. Exercise. Exercise is great for stress relief, moving our body. I always encourage, if you can move your body outside in nature, get some fresh air and sunshine. That's always helpful as well. There's quite a few essential oils that we can use for anxiety. And then, of course, frequencies. So we'll start here for frequencies. My favorite for anxiety would be mental balance frequencies. So according to the Heal Advisor app, they suggested mental balance acute, which is mental balance via cranial stimulation, inner strength systemic, feel good systemic, emotional well-being, and inner unity. But really, any and all of these are really great for restoring mental and emotional well-balance. And the one, or the inner strength systemic, is the one that's really focused for anxiety. Gold cycle, some of my favorites. Again, with the Heal Advisor, they suggested balance and relax and release. So balance is really the deep bioenergetic balancing of the body's energy field, but it's also optimizing, anything flowing through the body. So it's helping our kidneys, it's helping our blood, our lymphatic system, our hormones, everything moving through the body, which can be great for restoring the balance at the cellular level. And being, which is to help us regain emotional balance. So this, I love being. Being is really, really amazing one. If I'm feeling kind of emotionally off kilter, this is the one. This is my go-to. And then relax. The relax frequencies are anti-stress and then release as well. So releasing mental, emotional, physical, any kind of unpleasant sensations, just really letting those go. So job and sleep, this category is amazing for anxiety, and these ones are really focused on nervous system regulation. So anybody that is dealing with anxiety, nervous system re-regulation is a wonderful place to begin, because quite often we have nervous system dysregulation, and that is causing the symptoms of anxiety. And this is, again, I see this one a lot with trauma, but really focusing on reestablishing that healthy nervous system, embodying, doing more of embodiment exercises. I think quite often with situations like anxiety, we tend to like move out of our body. And so coming back into our body and using practices for that can be really, really supportive. And so job and sleep programs are awesome. So activation, positive thoughts, balanced nerves, these ones are really focused more on mental and emotional well-being. Anybody that has anxiety that might be related to more of the hormonal or adrenal burnout, then the fatigue, the exhaustion, and the extreme stress frequencies are really awesome. And then if anxiety is related to any kind of sleep disorders or sleep disruption, then running the sleep programs are really helpful as well. And in particular, bed rest, which focuses on activating the vagus nerve. And so the vagus nerve innervates all of the organs in our body, but primarily the vagus nerve, and it has a lot of connections with, again, with our digestive system. And so bed rest can be really lovely for helping restore good sleep and helping us feel good. Pain and psyche are great for addressing any acute and chronic symptoms. So number 7 and number 8 in particular, we don't see this one. This one's from Europe, this infographic, but as you can see at the bottom here, depression and anxiety. So these ones are great if somebody is having, especially if they're feeling like they have that acute sensation of anxiety, these ones can be really helpful, 20 minutes to just restore that balance within their system. And again, frequencies for the nervous system. So nerves, flexibility. I put hypersensitivity on here because especially if somebody is having more of a digestive manifestation to food sensitivities, that can be, these ones can be really helpful. And then within the meridians, focusing on the nerve meridian, meridian hormonal system, and again, kidney. So kidney is related to fear in terms of Chinese medicine. And so quite often with anxiety, although fear and anxiety are different, the kidneys, strengthening the kidneys can really help with a manifestation or helping mitigate the manifestation of anxiety.
Andrea, Eva raised her hand for a question. I don't know if it relates to one of the slides previously.
Thank you. No. Because I'm over in Google Slides, so it's great. Thank you.
It was a little mistake, but I meant to add that with the vagus nerve, the bed rest program, it's really helpful to actually use the sticky pads behind the osteoid here. That's a very different delivery as if you put it on the wristbands, because obviously the vagus nerve comes out from, it's a cranial nerve, so it's better, stimulated when we put the sticky pads right there. I meant to ask though, why flexibility? The slide before, you had flexibility for the nervous system. I didn't catch that. Why flexibility?
Yeah, I mean, I view flexibility as, in Healy, they describe it as a musculoskeletal, but for me, I see flexibility as, I like to run it if I'm feeling really rigid about things in my life. And I think that quite often with anxiety, we can get really rigid with our practices, and and so I put flexibility on there to sort of inspire more of that opening, more of that softening, being more flexible within ourselves, especially if we find ourselves feeling really rigid. Okay, so there are a lot in digital nutrition. Again, depending on where the anxiety is stemming from, what the root cause is of the anxiety would depend on the digital nutrition program that you would select. However, the ones that I selected here specifically, spirituality, psyche, and in number 6 especially, exhaustion, relief, joy of life, rest, and recreation. These ones all have the B vitamins. They have the 5-HTP, the magnesium, the serotonin, the tryptophan, and the melatonin. These ones are really calming. They're inhibitory neurotransmitters, so they're calming for the brain and for our nervous system in general. So these ones are amazing. I like to run one of these, especially when I'm feeling a lot of stress or anxiety in my life. And also, if you don't have the digital nutrition, then always, using the vibration in the Blue Dot app. So again, gut health and pathogens, quite often a gut imbalance or having parasites or pathogens in our digestive system, there's a strong connection between that and anxiety. Power of 3 is amazing for restoring digestive health and strengthening the fortitude of that, as well as helping support more of like a parasite protocol, as I talked about in my last one. So conflict balance, defense support, friendly flora, these ones are really finding that gut balance. Whereas in the first row, the classical physical, classical energetic, and the Zapper protocol are more geared towards pathogens. And then also in the Heal Advisor app. So those ones were all the microcurrent suggestions. There are amazing ones within the Heal Advisor app to use for anxiety. And that would be a lot of the energy medicines, Alaskan gem elixirs, the Bach flowers, the Schussler salts, which Chad and I talked about yesterday, the chakras to help balance the flow of the energy through our chakras. Deep Cycle. Deep Cycle is amazing for really rebalancing and clearing out the energy deep in our system. And then the new Mag Healy. So I don't have a Mag Healy, I can't speak to it, but I have been using the vibrations and they're amazing, just even in the vibration mode. And then similarly, the aura analysis and the coaching module, which can help us do that deeper work to identify root causes. If there is a mental or emotional block that's happening that's exacerbating our anxiety, really working with these ones to clear that energy, to maybe identify where those blocks are, where we have that stagnant energy, and working through those to really help clear that energy so we can feel whole and healthy and happy and not be having the anxiety or the symptoms of anxiety. So in terms of naturopathic and lifestyle support, with anything related to anxiety, I always start with nutrition. This is my starting point for most things. And beyond that, even just digestive health. So starting with digestive, strengthening the digestive or healing the gut is a great place. But in terms of nutrition, really looking at our food as medicine to capture essential vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, especially with anxiety, and just overall nutrients. And anti-inflammatory nutrition is a natural remedy for anxiety. And again, focusing on gut health and healing to really restore that balance of our hormones, of our neurotransmitters, having that vagus nerve activated to support our enteric nervous system, which is the nervous system that's connected to our gut. So actually, we think of our brain controlling our gut, but what research is showing is that we have such an network within our enteric nervous system, which is our digestive system, that more messages are actually going from our gut to our brain than the other way around. So really focusing on healing the gut, digestive health can really help our mental health and our brain function. So some other things is avoiding sugary packaged processed foods. These ones take away energy from our field. They cause inflammation and essentially nervous system disruption. So really limiting these, as well as caffeine, alcohol, and stimulants, especially if you are experiencing anxiety, these things can exacerbate them. So I just made a list here of some of the anti-inflammatory foods, but basically foods that focus on B vitamins, that are magnesium rich, high foods in calcium. So again, these minerals, getting these minerals into our body, and omega-3 foods are amazing. So quite often, I think later I say in the presentation about fatty or fish oils as well. But fat is really important for our brain health and our digestion. So some of the suggestions, depending on whether you eat meat or not, but if you do, then grass-fed beef, organic chicken, wild-caught fish. The proteins are really great. Again, they are high in the omegas, which are great for your brain and your digestive system. Healthy fats. So all of our nerve cells, all of our muscles in our body are lined in fat. And so we need healthy fats to help with nerve conduction, to help with muscle activation. And so I think a lot of people, I'm seeing this a lot, that a lot of people avoid fats, but they're really, really good for you. Leafy greens, fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, which also provide good fats. Superfoods are amazing for anxiety. And I give some suggestions as well for supplementation that fall into the superfood category as well. And then bone broth is one of my favorites. Super easy way to get in collagen, and it's incredibly healing for the digestive system. So one of my top anti-inflammatory food suggestions. So some of the herbs and supplements, and there are many. There are some that I would also talk about, but I wouldn't do it in a presentation here because they have interactions with, if somebody's on pharmaceuticals, then I wouldn't necessarily suggest them. So these ones are just basically overarching ones that anybody can take and use without interaction. Magnesium, probably the top one for anxiety, has a really positive effect on the nervous system. And quite often I like to recommend magnesium salt baths. So making a bath, putting magnesium salts in there. You can put Epsom salt, some essential oils if you like, and just laying in there. And our skin is our largest organ. It's actually the easiest entry point for magnesium into our body because we absorb it through our skin, and our body can use it much better than through supplementation. So if you do suffer from anxiety or have sort of anxiety related issues, then trying magnesium baths can really be life-altering. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's also an amino acid, and it has an incredibly sedative effect. And it helps to regulate nerve cells and calm anxiety. So this is a really great suggestion as well. Oh, did somebody raise their hand? Oh yeah, you use magnesium oil. Yeah, magnesium oil is great too. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb. This is also one of my favorite herbs from India. Stabilizes our body's response to stress. And it's adaptogenic. So whether our nervous system is activated, it helps it bring it back into balance, or if it was underactive, then it sort of works in both directions. So it's a really nice one to use. Same with rhodiola, which I didn't put on here, but ashwagandha and rhodiola are really great for anxiety. And then fish oils. So a lot of the research, Dr. Amen, he's a really popular or well-known neuroscientist, and he uses up to 2,000 milligrams per day of fish oils to help his patients reduce anxiety symptoms.
I have a quick question on the fish oil.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also a lot of studies showing that fish have a lot of heavy metals, and fish oil especially as well. So what's your response to that?
So there's a few companies that I love that are very reputable that use the smaller fish. So you can do like krill oil, because krill are super, super tiny. It's what whales live on. And so they're really tiny. They tend to not collect the heavy metals. So krill oil is really popular now. Cod liver oil, which tastes terrible, but it's probably what our parents, they used to feed it to them at school, I think. So cod liver oil is another one. But there are, I wouldn't just go to any, store and buy any. I would definitely do some research on finding companies that are testing for heavy metals to ensure that the levels, and they'll even have the reports there that show that they're testing for it. So finding a company that is reputable in that sense. Does that answer your question? You could also do non-fish oils. You could do other oils.
Yes, thank you. I prefer the plant-based omegas and oils, but I was wondering for others because that is a concern. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Good question. And then essential oils, there are a lot as well, but some of my favorite are lavender, valerian, vetiver, and then clary sage. So, having a diffuser in your room can be really lovely, especially in the evening. Quite often I have my clients incorporate this as part of their bedtime routine. So, preparing this, putting it next to their bed, having a quiet evening, unplugging from technology. I think technology and anxiety go hand in hand as well. And so finding that time to unplug, get out in nature. Okay, so some lifestyle practices. I mean, again, there's many ways to support ourselves with anxiety. I love meditation as a practice for my clients. Meditation, breath work, any kind of mindfulness practices are really wonderful for helping calm the nervous system. And again, coming back to this embodiment practice, right? Where I think there's this tendency to disembody, to disassociate. Quite often people try to have these outlets or coping mechanisms, but it's very much an external process. And so coming back into these embodiment practices of being present with the feelings and really kind of starting to learn how we can impact our nervous system. And I love to combine these with frequencies now. Healy has been such a blessing in terms of being able to integrate this. My clients are really reporting that they're enjoying their meditation practice more, running the frequencies, and we'll select ones that are, in concert with the meditation. The chakra programs are really amazing. Pineal gland, those ones, to bring that more of like an embodiment practice and feeling empowered to support themselves. Again, exercise and movement, I think I had mentioned that earlier, really helps combat stress and really moves that energy out of our body. The baths, I had mentioned the magnesium bath, but any saunas, infrared therapy, there's PEMF, and then grounding and earthing. So really getting outside, getting our feet connected to the earth brings in these ions into our body, which can really help with our nervous system. Similarly, sunshine, fresh air, time in nature, again, unplugging and just getting outside. I think a lot of people now, especially with social media, it causes anxiety. I think there's a statistic, I can't remember what the exact statistic is, but most people go on social media and come off feeling worse than when they went on. And definitely if you are prone to anxiety, then spending less time on social media might be helpful for you. Getting your sleep routine set, super, super important. Having our circadian rhythm working and functioning well. The sleep routine is really meant to optimize melatonin release. So this is where the sleep frequencies really come in too, because they're optimizing our melatonin. Our melatonin is released a few hours before we go to bed. So we want to be finding that routine of slowing down, getting off screens, and allowing that melatonin to move us into a calming state so that then we can have restful sleep. And then if you are experiencing anxiety, to seek help. So as you saw in that first slide, or the slide about the facts, only a third of people that have anxiety actually get help for it. And so I feel like there's less stigma around this now, around anxiety and depression. I mean, I hear a lot about this now, about people feeling like they have anxiety. So seeking that help, healing the traumas, really looking at releasing that stored energy that we have in our our muscles, our tissues, our nervous system, to really move that out of our body. And so, not hiding from it, but facing it and moving through it, and having the support and guidance of somebody that can help you with that. That's really important. And then also do a detox. So when my clients come to me and they're experiencing high anxiety, again, we look at the gut as the first entry point. And part of that quite often is doing a detox, because we need to move these toxins out to really be able to reestablish that bioterrain within ourselves, but also within our energetic field. So clearing out the toxins, especially the parasites, which are very, very common with anxiety symptoms. The parasites can exacerbate that. Balancing our flora, which the Power of 3 programs are really helpful with that as too, super supportive. And then restoring the proper assimilation and elimination within our body and our energy field. I'll add that. So, I've had 2 extra infographics, but they didn't show up. Or maybe you guys can see them. Do you see this? Do you see the Halloween one? Doesn't show up for me.
I can't see the Halloween.
Okay, well, I had the Halloween one there. Then I was like, maybe I shouldn't put it, and that's probably why it didn't show up. So anyway, in terms of Healy promos, October promos, we've got a couple more days of really taking advantage of the models, the 45% off. And also, I think the Halloween promotion is for every device that we sell, we get a free gold. Is that right, Eva Maria? And And also if we sell 3 or more, if we share 3 or more, then we earn the free Resonance Plus. And I think that we can even take advantage of a Mag Healy, right, at that point. And then also if we sign on a member and help them sell 3, then we have the opportunity to earn a free Mag Healy as well. And after Chad's talk today on Mag Healy, I was telling him that I feel really inspired to acquire one in my life, because that was really next level, his presentation. So super excited to have a Mag Healy come into my life. So in terms of other calls, there's been so many calls this week actually, but in terms of Healy and Healy Corporate, we have Tech Tip Tuesdays, and Healy for Beginners and Beyond on Thursdays. There's What's Up Wednesdays. And then also Cassie and Chad and I have launched our Resonance Connection. The portal is open. It's filling up with amazing content. So you guys can visit the website for more info, but I have my quantum detox in there. Cassie has a growing library. Chad has shamanic healing, and we have advanced trainings and so much more. So if you want to get more info, please reach out to us. And that is the end of the presentation, but I'll open it up now if anybody has any questions or shares, frequency programs that you guys use, if you're experiencing anxiety.
I can quickly share. I don't know. I'm sorry. Hi, guys.
Hi, Colette.
Hi,
Sorry
Colette.
that I jumped on late. I've been out prospecting. But I have had such a tremendous breakthrough with my anxiety and with Healy. So I don't know what you shared in the things before, but for me, my biggest breakthrough was, I think, the continuous use of the emotional well-being. Definitely something that worked through for me. And then when I feel my anxiety rising, balanced nerves is my so that is my biggest thing. And I feel that Healy, like, I didn't realize how bad my anxiety was. And, since I've been so continuous and so dedicated to using the frequencies all the time, that it's what helped me blossom and break through, and what Chad had told me in May to become that butterfly.
Amazing. Thank you, Colette. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I just, I go through, like all of us do. I went through several quick dark nights of the soul. And when I go through those, just to piggyback off of what Colette was saying, the mental balance programs have saved me. And they allow me to transition out of that space I'm in faster, because you have to, in a way, feel it to heal it. So you have to understand why you're in that space. But the mental balance programs, for me, allow me to feel what I'm feeling, absorb it into my field, release it, and then I can just move on to the next step. So it happens faster for me, where if I didn't have the Healy or the frequencies, I might be sitting in my dark night of the soul for a month compared to a week. And no one got time for that. We have stuff to do. So it has really helped me.
Yeah, same for me too. The mental balance is before I used to take some GABA, try and do some breathing and just try and find and manage it, and now it's I feel so empowered. I put on a frequency program. I still do those other things, but I feel like I turn on the program, I take a couple deep breaths, and it just I'm able to move through it so much faster.
Yes. Yeah, I'm still working on the sugary stuff. I'm sorry. I love ice cream, and I think my friend Kim is here. Kim is on with us, and we go get ice cream together. So I'm obsessed with ice cream. So I just have to learn. I can eat it, but not every single day.
Black cherry?
No, I don't like black cherry. My favorite ice cream is probably butter pecan.
Ooh.
Which I found out because I have a lot of Australian clients that butter pecan is not in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Just fun fact, FF for you can't get it in Australia. You can only get it here in the States. So
interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
You should run more digital nutrition, Chad.
I know, I definitely should. You're absolutely right.
Might help with your sugar cravings.
Yeah, it might. Okay.
Cassie, were you wanting to share?
No, I mean, I'm a big fan of the sugar as well. I used to have a, a craving for donuts actually, but no, I really appreciate or I still do. What am I saying? That's not past tense, it's current, but it is curtailed. And I found it interesting that you added beef to the foods for anxiety. I've been craving beef in the last 3 days, which has been really interesting for me because I usually don't. I'm for the most part a pescatarian, but yeah, I also have found that my Healy mental balance programs have been essential. I thankfully don't feel a lot of anxiety in my body per se, but I will notice that I will loop on a certain memory perhaps or conversation. It often will result to, like, after I get off a call with someone, I'll think, oh, did I say the right thing, do the right thing, be the right thing, whatever, I kind of have those kinds of thoughts. And that's what I've learned is how my anxiety kind of manifests. But I do take an exorbitant amount of magnesium per day. I add the magnesium to my body. I love Epsom salt baths. Like, I do all this, I do my best. But you have to live a little with the donuts and the sugar and all of that. But I'm just so glad for all of you in my life, because you help add those guardrails. And so, yeah, thanks, Andrea.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't have those. I'm not suggesting that you don't, but it's about finding that balance, right? And if you are in a period of your life where you're feeling more anxiety, then it's like good to be mindful of like how we're feeding our body, what practices are we have in our life to support us, which frequencies are we using as well. Right? It's sort of finding that balance and being in tune with ourselves to understand what our needs are.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Julie. I've been using the Power of 3, which is, I would say, they seem to have upset my equilibrium, where making me a little bit bad-tempered. I don't know, and my temper has changed, but it's settling down now after the third run. So that's the first time I've been using it now for 2 weeks. So I'm on the third run, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better now, because I take my anxiety into my gut area. So always in my gut. And I have an issue with sugar as well, which I used to have candida. So
yeah. So the Power of 3 are really supportive then for the candida as well.
Yeah, I think it's starting to shift the pain in my gut when I get anxious, Sorry, yeah.
The bioenergetic harmony too has the gastrointestinal. So if you're using the Power of 3, there's other like digestive organs that I would suggest running too, especially if you're feeling like, if you're having emotions coming up, then the meridians, liver, especially if it's coming in through as like anger or irritability.
Yeah.
Anger, running the liver meridian, doing the kidney meridian on a regular basis weekly, also super supportive. And the large intestine, I think that's the one that's in bioenergy, or in the meridians, sorry. And if you're having acute symptoms, the gastrointestinal in the bioenergetic harmony too, I think that one is amazing for relieving symptoms.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, the Power of 3, it doesn't just work at a physical level, it's working at an energetic level as well. And so as you clear out those, especially if you do have any pathogens or parasites, they all have energies to themselves as well.
Right,
so
yes.
You're going to be moving all of that out of your body, right?
Yes, and I have as well.
Yeah, it'll come through in our emotions. That happens. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Andrea, Evangelina, and Josiah, I believe, have questions maybe or comments to share.
Okay. Let me pull that up. I have too many things going on here at one time. So, I don't. Do you guys have your hand up?
Evangelina?
Hi. I wanted to mention, I think this all the time, and it's just, I love that the advisor is the greatest companion to when I'm feeling anxiety, especially when I get that feeling like I describe it as like I'm driving too fast, you know, and I pull out my advisor and I want to search for something. It really makes me kind of slow down and stress and figure out what's, you know, what the issue is. And I'm, you know, and I sit there and I'm like, I don't know if it's agitation, you know, and I have to breathe and find the best program for the moment. And it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, what a good friend. You made me stop and slow my fingers down and ask the good questions. So I'm just so happy with my advisor. Thank you, y'all. Oh, and recently I ran, per the advice, I ran tension. And that was the greatest feeling when I felt like that tension around my eyes and my head just, you know, kind of start to dissipate. And I was like, holy moly, it wasn't anxiety, it was just tension. So, yeah, thank
Sometimes the anxiety manifests as tension. So, you know, however it is, it's lovely that we have this beautiful tool to help us move that energy quickly. The vibrations too. Sometimes if I don't want to run a longer program and I feel like I just want immediate support, doing the vibrations with one of the energy medicines, especially the crystal frequencies, those ones are amazing. Just like vibe that right into my field and like immediately bring me back down to earth. Anyone else want to share? Do we have, oh, okay. Does anyone else have a hand up? If not, then we'll wrap up for today. But thank you for joining, everyone, and all your participation and sharing. Oh, hi.
So I think we may have some new people on board too. So if they have their Healy in their hands, and obviously there are a lot of programs you just mentioned around anxiety, what would your first advice be on how to go about this, on what programs to run?
So
like of that you should just be running 3 programs a day in the Pink Dot app. Like, I know everyone is different. Would you just send them to scanning or like, yeah, just want to.
I mean, I'm a big fan of anybody that's new to Healy starting out with the Gold Cycle because it's really optimizing our terrain. But if you are experiencing acute symptoms, that dealing with that first, right? Because the Gold Cycle is always kind of working to rebuild the foundation, but anybody that's having definitely like acute symptoms or having, say they're having an anxiety attack or they're feeling anxious, then going to either the pain and psyche ones because they're 20 minutes and they provide instant relief. But otherwise my go-to is definitely the mental balance. Those ones are, they're 100% hands down the best ones for mental and emotional well-being. And then also, you know, if you're not sure of where the anxiety, like we always want to find the root cause because the anxiety is just the manifestation, right? And so it's something else that's going on underneath. And so helping us discover that by doing the analyses, figuring out what's happening in the background. So doing the analysis and either vibrating that or else running the longer programs based on the suggestion. But everyone will find the programs too, right? Of what works for them, especially in terms of a manifestation. We all have different mental balance programs that we resonate with, right? So it's some of it is trying them and seeing which ones that you really love and then working with those. Awesome. Great question. Okay, you guys. So if nobody else has questions, then we'll wrap it up for today. But thanks for joining. Yeah, and if you have any suggestions of topics that you would like to discuss, then please reach out. Oh, Kim has her hand raised.
Sorry, I was actually just trying to say thank you, but I raised my hand up by accident. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, you guys. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, and I'll have the replay up tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.
And Andrea, can you stay on the call with Julie and I?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
And I have 5.
Hello.